For great ideas and practical tools you can start using tomorrow to grow your business and separate you from the competition, you've come to the right place. If you're into B2B marketing and sales, then welcome to the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast. With over 60 and counting total years in the trenches of businesses small and large, they have a plethora of knowledge and experience that generate you more leads, capture more clients, ring up more sales. Well, doggone it, just make you more money. How about that? Always thought-provoking, yet dubiously entertaining. Please welcome to their respective microphones across 3 time zones, your co-ringmasters, the Dave Loomis, and not the rock star, Steve Miller.
Okay. Hey, everybody, this is Steve Miller, better known as Kelly's dad, marketing gunslinger, and I am not the rock star. Okay, I am not the rock star, but you want to talk about rock stars. I've got with me Mr. Voice.
The Dave Loomis.
You know, man, I'll tell you what, if you could sing with that voice, say, fans would be swooning at your feet.
Yeah, we could try Thunder Road by Bruce Springsteen sometime. That's actually one that I do pretty well.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Yeah.
We'll do that.
Not this episode, but
No.
a future one.
No, I don't. Yeah, we need to. I don't want to scare people away right now. This is not the time to do
Scare
that.
people away. This would be a magnet.
Well, I mean, if I'm singing, because like if you're asking me to sing harmony or anything.
No, I wasn't asking that at all.
Oh, I see. All right. I get the hint. Okay. So anyway, it's Steve and Dave, and we're back again to talk with you about marketing, branding, that type of stuff, right here on the B2B Marketing and Branding Podcast. And thank you to everybody that's been listening to us and subscribing to us and liking us, and hopefully you'll keep passing that around, sharing it with friends. And today we're going to talk about a topic that I personally love. I absolutely love. And the Dave came up with this topic, and the topic is market segmentation, which I just think is so critical. It is just so critical. In fact, I just had a conversation yesterday with a client of mine just on that topic alone. Now, you said, I'm going to let you start talking about this, because I know that you've got your own perspective on market segmentation. I mean, I guess the first thing is make sure people understand what we're talking about, and then what's the big deal about it?
Right. I'd like to start off with a riddle.
Okay.
It's for you. See if you get the answer to this one. It's it's kind of a layup. How do you eat an elephant?
Well, see, now that makes me feel like this is a trick question, because it's, we've all heard this one before, right?
It's not a trick.
One bite at a time.
Exactly.
Right.
Now, why would I start off this episode? Why would I give that riddle?
Because a bite is a segment.
Yes. You can't do it all at once. Why do we even have market segmentation? What is it?
Market segmentation is defining you can't sell to everybody. You shouldn't even try to sell to everybody.
No.
When somebody says to me, like, and I'm sure this has happened to you too, I'll be talking to somebody and I'll say, who's the market for this product or service? And they go, everybody.
Oh yeah, who wouldn't want this?
Everybody needs this. And my response is, well, don't quit your day job. If you can't be all things to all people.
No, but, or maybe I should say, and in addition to your great point, let's say you do narrow down your market. So instead of 300 million people in your market, you have 1 million. Okay. Go sell to those million.
Right.
Okay. How do you eat an elephant? Well, it's just
still
not
an
so
elephant.
easy.
Million is still an elephant.
It's tough. And so there's a natural tendency to want to prioritize and there's a natural tendency to want to divide, or even divide and conquer, as they say. And that's where we get market segmentation. And, in sort of the olden days, and to some extent these days, you still see proof of that in sales territories, for example, that are still based on geography. Well, you cover this region, you cover this region. And I think a lot of times when I talk to, especially B2B companies, especially ones that have been around a long time, when you ask them, tell me about your market segmentation, they would say, okay, well, we've got the West, and we got the East, and we got the Southeast, and we got the Southwest. And I say, okay, well, beyond geographic territories, what do you have? And they say, okay, well, we got national accounts, and then we got big companies, mid-sized companies, and small companies. And I said, okay, well, keep going, because those are still just pretty basic ways to sort of divide up or describe your market, but they're not particularly useful.
They're kind of the default.
They're the default. They're the default. They're not the useful. Like if you got a market segmentation program and it would do something automatically for you, it would default to that. It would be a default setting.
Mm-hmm.
Right. But us marketers who've been around the block for a little bit can advise that there are much more interesting and creative ways to divide up in the market, in your own target markets, plural, into different segments. Do you agree with that?
100%. 100%. Yeah, I completely agree with that. And I have a very, I paint a very specific picture with using the way my brain works, in my book, about, I call it hunting moose, right? And the picture that I paint for people is, and like you use, for example, geographical territories, which is very common, right? Somebody's got Southwest, United States, right? That's a geographical territory. Okay, I call those forests, right? Those are forests. So, and like the question that I would ask somebody is, I would say, well, if you are hunting moose, because like if you go to a forest, if you say that it's just a geographical territory, well, then what you're saying to me is you're hunting all the animals in the forest, right? You're hunting, moose, bear, rabbit, squirrels, snakes, birds, fish. I mean, you're hunting all of them.
Actually, that might be a good way to create a territory or something for. We talked about manufacturers reps last time that sell lots of things. Yep. Do you want to buy a watch or whatever you want?
Yeah.
I'll sell it to you. And it's hunting everything in the forest.
That's right, hunting everything in the forest. See, and what I teach my clients is, I say, look, in the beginning, or at least to start with, pick an animal, and I say pick a moose. All right, let's just and get to know that moose as best as you possibly can, and ask yourself the question: okay, if you were hunting moose, would you go hunt moose in Florida? No, you wouldn't hunt moose in the forests of Florida, or even the forests of Southern California, or anything like that. You would go look for a forest that's up north somewhere, right? Where moose live, right? So you're going to go to the moose.
Like Moosehead Lake in Maine.
There's a reason why it's called Moosehead Lake.
Yes, there are meese there.
There are many meese around there. And so you go there, but what are you going to offer are you going to offer the same thing that you would offer like a rabbit, as bait? Because you need to have bait to attract the moose to you, right? So in other words, you need moose bait. The bait is specific to the moose, and none of the other animals in the forest they don't care about that bait. Right. They want their own. They're looking for their own kind of food. That's what they're looking for. Each one of them is looking for their own kind of food, and you have to use the kind of tool, the kind of like a moose gun, right? You're not going to hunt a moose with a tennis racket,
right? So there's a whole bunch of things that you have to have in order to attract and kill this particular species that you're looking for. Whatever that segment is.
That's the segment.
If you're a marketer, that means that you need to define the segment first of all, right?
Right.
And then you need to figure out. You need to learn about that segment. You need to learn, what is this segment like? What does this segment respond to? And then once I actually am able to attract the person, that buyer or buyers that are in that segment, what can I give them that will really sort of tip the scales and get this thing in our favor?
And you've got to even go farther to where you need to be able to speak the language.
You need to be able to speak
segment.
moose, like a moose call. You need to be able to.
That conversation I was having yesterday, for example, we narrowed it down. We narrowed our conversation down to they had two types of targets. One were in the manufacturing community, right? One were job shops, okay, but primarily job shops that had less than 50 employees. Okay. So that was their number one moose. Their number two, the number two, which we'll say was a deer, all right, which is different from a moose, all right, a deer, or a bear. We'll say bear. Let's make it really clear. All right. So we got moose here and bear over here. The bear to them were design engineers.
Okay.
All right. Now, job shops and design engineers do not talk the same language. They have different needs. So job shops, you might have an owner of a job shop, and he is going to buy some machinery, okay,
right.
for his shop. Okay. Design engineers, on the other hand, are given projects by their bosses, and then they look at those projects and they say, okay, what do we need to do these projects? So these are two different segments. They're two different animals in the forest. They will have different bait that they are attracted to. They will have, you need different weapons, to shoot them, right? Or whatever it is you do.
Was your client selling the same thing to both of these? Essentially the same thing?
Essentially the same thing. But they both, he knew that they both had a need for it. But and in the past, they've basically sent out the same message to both segments. And this is in marketing parlance, this is called, you need message to market match.
Yeah.
Right. And, message to market match means that you are talking their language. You are talking to them from their perspective. You are understand. Job shop owners have a different challenge than design engineers have.
Right. I've got a client that sells filters when people are they're melting down plastic, and then they're making things from that melted down plastic. And some of their customers are making things from scratch, brand new things, like really highly engineered items that are beautiful and clean and pure and so forth. Another group of customers are recyclers that are taking recycled plastic and putting it through the paces and melting it down and filtering it out. Now those are very different. It's the same thing that they're selling essentially, but they have very, very different needs. The recyclers have it's not very pure. It's got all sorts of stuff in it because it's being recycled. And so they have very different needs. It gets clogged all the time because of all these impurities. So there need to be different things that happen. And if you were to go interview them and talk to them and do voice of customer, you'd find highly different needs and actually different outcomes, desired outcomes, because the purity or the quality of the output is different too. So I couldn't agree more that you need to speak different languages.
You need to speak different languages because every segment stands alone. And what I always tell my clients is let's start with, I try to convince them to let's start with one. Let's pick one really good segment for you. All right. Let's understand them as best as possible. Let's go talk to them from their perspective. And we're selling them the results that they are looking for. We're not selling them a piece of machinery. We're selling them a result that they are looking for, the hole that the drill is.
Exactly. That's the jobs to be done that we've talked about. Exactly.
And then once you've got that going, then go ahead and, now you can pick another segment. You can pick a different animal in the forest, but you have to do the exact same thing for them. But most companies simply send out the same message to everybody. And usually it's something very bland, like
high quality at a great value.
We have the best customer service. We have the best quality. We are the best of that. Hey, you know what? Everybody says that, which makes you the same as everybody else. And that's why you're competing on price.
Exactly.
And we don't want you to compete on price.
Now, we've talked a little bit so far. What we've been talking about is selling and messaging as it relates to these segments. I've also had the opportunity to do some work where I have been working on distribution channel strategy. We talked about distribution channels, where I did some research for, say, a company that would make electrical circuit breakers, for example, and they were selling through, and we even talked about this last week, where they were selling through distributors, and then home center stores came along. But it turned out that there were price buyers that would want to go, and they'd go anywhere. Mm-hmm. And then there were people that were brand buyers. They'd go anywhere to find that brand, not to find the lowest price, but their favorite brand. And then there were some that were channel loyal that would stick with that channel because of the service. So you can segment by those sort of buying behaviors also. So that's an interesting one. And then I also have had some great experience with micro segmentation based on basically application needs. And it goes back to a little bit about what you were saying, which is, hey, just choose one to start with and you do a deep dive and talk to them and learn. But I worked for a company that makes the French-based company that makes many, many things, huge company. They also compete with 3M on industrial sandpaper as one way to abrasives, basically. Mm-hmm. And these are very expensive pieces of abrasive because there are little diamond chips in them and things like that. And the segment that they were going after, it was so specific. And I just loved it because it was aerospace refurbishment. So it can't get more specific than that. They refurbished big jet engine turbines and wings of aircraft. I mean, so you're sanding down aluminum basically. But they wanted to know, what are the needs that are different for for this segment, this micro segment? And they ended up did find some very different needs by ethnography, observation, by just going and looking and watching them and learning and listening. And then they moved on to the next. They learned and made some kind of product adjustments and sales adjustments and speaking that language, and then moving on to the next one.
Yeah. And I mean, there are so many different ways you can segment but the main thing is to do it. That's the main thing, right? Don't you agree?
Yeah, you could talk about it a lot. You could study it, but maybe you don't even do it. Maybe you think about it, but it is, just doing it. And everybody thinks that there's like 100% the right way to do something and the wrong way to do something.
Right.
There's actually many ways to segment. And you'll never know really, because you'll never get a controlled experiment perfectly. Right. So just do it.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think you can't get wrong. You'll do better than if you don't. I'm
pretty sure I've said this before. There are many roads to the top of the mountain. And, and you can find different roads depending upon, say, the segment you're talking to, the message you're talking to, the application that they need it for, the different types of problems that people might have, or the different, like when you talk about like in aerospace, they might, your product might be used differently for a company in aerospace, versus one that's in, say, automotive, or recreational vehicles or something like that. And, and the point, and you're talking to those people again, from their perspective. What do they need what do they need that you can help them with? Right. And I think it was Robert Collier in his famous book, the Robert Collier sales letter book or something, sales letter book many, many years ago. He said, you want to join the conversation that is already going on in the customer's mind. That's what you want to do as a marketer. And that's what each one of these segments, they have their own conversation going on.
Absolutely.
They have their own conversation.
I love that. I love that. And all you can do, you could just use your imagination. What that makes me realize by listening to that is that people have businesses, that people have ongoing businesses that they're working day in and day out and trying to overcome challenges. And it's not like, oh, you knock on their door or you send them an email or you call them. It may be the first time you're coming in contact with them, but they've got this ongoing thing that they deal with all the time.
Yep. They wake up with it. They wake up with it. They sleep with it. They come to.
So it's not like all of a sudden they've been waiting their entire life for you to call and shine, the light on thing. No, that's not actually it. You just, it's like, I'm really busy right now doing what I do.
Yeah.
So it's hard to break through that. But when you can actually get in a conversation about what those challenges are, and the person thinks, well, maybe you actually could help me, then you're making progress.
Right. Now we are at the end of our of this
no,
segment, but we
can't be.
We are pretty much at the end. We may have to continue a topic like
this segment. We're at
the end of this segment. But here's what I would like. Here's what I would suggest that we're going to do. I mean, obviously, if you are getting good value from us, we hope that you will like us. We hope that you will share. You will subscribe to us. That you will share it with your fellow moose, right? People that you in the segment that you live in. But also, I want us to give a couple plugs for our books, because this is the type of stuff that goes into, we go into more in depth in our books about these things that we're having conversations about. So the Dave Loomis, tell them what the name of your book is.
It is called Marketing is Everything We Do, Why Serving Others Brings Success in Business and in Life, by David Mayo Loomis. I actually have a middle name. It's my mom's maiden name.
You're a dressing?
Ask me if I like mayonnaise on my sandwich. You have to ask that.
Do you like mayonnaise on your stuff?
Mayo's my middle name.
Mayo.
You've heard of the Mayo Clinic, right?
Yes, sir. I sure have.
No relation.
Right.
That's my follow-up, Joe.
And the name of my book is Uncopyable: How to Create an Unfair Advantage Over Your Competition. And next year I got a new one coming out, but get that one for right now. Get both of those for right now. Quite frankly, they're both easy reading and they're both just jammed with great information. So go get them. Go get them. Go get them, and then we will be back again. So I'm gonna hand it over to my compadre in crime here to take us out of here.
Thank you so much for joining us again. And if you like this, you don't have to wait very long. Just another week, and we'll have another episode, and it'll be even better than this one. So thanks for listening to the B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast with the Dave Loomis, myself, and not the rock star Steve Miller. So we'll see you next time.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the one and only B2B Marketing and Sales Podcast, the source for B2B marketing and sales insight. If you enjoyed the podcast, please be sure to subscribe and leave these old guys a 5-star rating. Check the show notes for any links and contact information. You can always contact us by going to b2bmarketingsalespodcast.com. Thank you, and keep on marketing, keep on selling.